And I know, I might have lost some of you there, but come back, trust me in this one. Hello Tandem fandom, it's Jenny, and today I am here with 5 queer normative fantasy and sci-fi books. So, what is a queer normative fantasy or sci-fi book? Basically, a queer normative is where a queer relationship is not seen as an exception. So, the norm of a relationship is not seen as a straight cis relationship. It can be anything. And this is something that I really, really love about fantasy and sci-fi, is that you can build your own world. So you can make it so that your world is queer normative. You can make it so your world does not include racism or sexism or any other problem that is prevalent in our world. If you're an author of fantasy or sci-fi, you can get rid of it in your world. And that's something that I just think is absolutely fantastic. So I have got next to me my stack of 5 fantasy and sci-fis that are queer normative, and let's get into it. The first one that I want to talk about is Feybound by Sarah Alarifi. So this book, we follow our 2 main characters who are Yirin and Litul, and they are elves. And Yirin is part of the army. She leads her group. Things go wrong. She is basically exiled from the elven lands. And her sister Litul and their friend, whose name I can't remember, whose name I don't know. So Yirin and her sister Litul decide to go into exile. While they're in exile, they end up finding the Feylands. Now the Fey have been thought to be extinct for forever. And then this book follows the relationships that they build in the Feylands, and sort of, again, kind of, there's this whole like bigger mystery as well. But something that I really love about Feybound, like I said, is it is queer normative. We have got characters who are non-binary, we have got characters who are trans, and I'm kind of putting question marks on this because that terminology isn't used, but we still have got, I guess, those characteristics. We have got characters who are in female-female relationships, male-male relationships. We've got, I believe there are poly relationships in here as well. And that is all seen as normal, which is absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend Feybound if you do want a really great fantasy story. So my second book on my list of recommendations is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So this one is a sci-fi. And again, like I said, with sci-fi, you can build your own world or multiple worlds. And in this one, we are traveling through space. We're following our main character who is on a spaceship full of mismatched peoples. So different species, lots of different people on there, and they are traveling through space. The tagline at the bottom of this says, "But Rosemary isn't the only person on board with secrets to hide, and the crew will soon discover that space may be vast, but spaceships are very small indeed," which just sounds fantastic. And again, with sci-fi particularly, where you can have all of these different planets involved, and so you can have different people in different worlds, you can really have fun with the norms of different planets, of different worlds. So in here we have got, we've got cis couples, we've got lesbian couples, we've got male-male couples. I believe there is a AI pairing. So again, someone who is paired with an artificial intelligence, which is really, really interesting. And we're going to get onto that again in a minute. We've got pansexual representation, we've got gender fluid, non-binary representation. And again, that's something that I think is fantastic with sci-fi that you don't really see in other genres. Sci-fi typically has some basis on Earth as we know it, or our planet Earth, even if it is just the Earth was destroyed and now we're over here. So I love with sci-fi that you can have this semi-realistic setting with there being an Earth usually involved, and then you can expand out to literally your heart's desire. So that is my second recommendation. Now my third recommendation is Witch King by Martha Wells. So you might recognise Martha Wells as an author of the Murderbot Diaries, which is a sci-fi novella series. This is a fantasy standalone. Now this book we are following Kai, who is a demon. And I'm going to just read you out the first couple of lines of the synopsis because it just sounds fantastic this way. After being murdered, his consciousness dormant and unaware of the passing of time while confined in an elaborate water trap, Kai wakes to find a lesser mage attempting to harness Kai's magic to his own advantage. That was never going to go well. Doesn't that just make you want to read this book? So Witch King, like I said, is queer normative in that our demons, of which Kai is one, maintain their own gender regardless of the body that they are inhabiting. So the main characters and the main peoples that we follow are typically transgender. We've got a lot of people who are gender fluid. Every single relationship in here is queer. We've got a lot of people using they, them pronouns and are non-binary as well. And again, I think that this book is just a fantastic example of how the fantasy and to an extent the sci-fi genres can use their world building to make a world that is open to everybody, and there is not the prejudice against queer people. Okay, my next sci-fi book is The Red Scholar's Wake by Alette de Bodard. So this one is, again, another kind of space opera sci-fi. And I am, again, going to read you out part of the synopsis for this one. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. So this one is Red Scholar's Wake by Alette de Bodard. So this one is another space opera sci-fi. And in this one, we are following Ricefish, who is a sentient ship. And I know, I might have lost some of you there, but come back, trust me in this one. So Ricefish, while they are a sentient ship, they embody a female physique and are married. Should I say they were married? Ricefish's wife has died or been murdered. We don't know. So it's got a kind of murder mystery, high stakes pirate theme in here, but also in space. And again, this is a book similarly to A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, where we're going to meet lots of different species, lots of different kind of alien people. And of course, they're not all going to be cis het. Like, it just makes sense that we're going to have a lot of different queer types around here. And again, this book's absolutely fantastic. The queer normative world here, brilliant. We love to see it. And finally, the last book on my list is the very lovely The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Please excuse the stickers that I have not taken off. So this book, we are following our main character, Linus, who is going to kind of check out this house which looks after this group of magical youth. And while he's there, it's all about kind of found family and discovering your own powers, and it's just the most beautiful, cozy fantasy ever. I expect a lot of people have read this book and will know what it's about, so I'm not going to spend too much time trying to explain the synopsis of The House in the Cerulean Sea. But what I love with this one is, again, there is a queer relationship at the centre of it, but that queer relationship is not the point of the novel. The fact that they are queer makes no difference to the novel. Nobody comments on it, nobody questions it. And that's what I love about a queer normative story, is that there's no drawing attention to the fact that a queer relationship is happening. It just is. Because again, queer people just exist. So this is an absolutely fantastic story, and again, I hope that if you haven't read it, pick it up. So I hope that you enjoyed my recommendations for some queer normative fantasy and sci-fi. Please do let me know down in the comments if you've got any recommendations for any other queer normative stories that you have read. If there's any here that you would really love to read, if I've inspired you to pick up one of these books that might have been on your shelf for a while. And please do check out our description down below where you can find out all about Tandem's read-alongs. You can sign up to our newsletter and you can follow us on the rest of our socials. Bye!